If you watch The Circus, our new show on Sunday night at 8 on Showtime, you saw a bit of our conversation with Bernie Sanders' wife, Jane Sanders. Here's a fuller version of our conversation in Des Moines, Iowa, which started with Jane explaining her reticence about her husband running for president and what ultimately changed her mind.
I mean, it's not anything he's ever really considered.
Right.
As I think what he's doing is he's feeling an obligation to do it. That's where it came from. It came from our country is becoming an oligarchy. There's so many things that need to be changed, and the powers that be are becoming much more centralized, a much smaller group of people running our democracy. And I think we just felt like, how can we not do it? How can we complain about it and not do everything we can to change it? It just never occurred to me. It wouldn't have occurred to me, well, run for president,
Right.
but a lot of people were asking him.
Almost universally, the spouses of candidates, again, even the most ambitious ones, the spouses are generally the most hesitant. The spouses are kind of like, what's it going to do to my family? What's it going to do to me? How many hours are you going to have to be on the road? All these questions. Did you immediately say, you know, you should do this?
I haven't told this story, so.
You can tell it now.
When we first started talking about it, it was frustration that the issues that were most important to the American people were not being covered by the media. They weren't in the conversation. They weren't in the conversation in the last presidential debate or the one before that, and they certainly weren't in the congressional debates. It was all he said, she said, and so we were talking about how the heck do we get, I don't remember what the issues were, how do we get people to pay attention to this? And we said, well, you know, what if we float the idea that he run for president, that he's thinking about running for president. It was just three of us in the room, and I said...
Who was the third person?
Richard, our best friend.
Yeah.
And we weren't planning on having a political discussion. We were just talking about this. I said, well, and my answer was, we're fine if we just float that idea and see what happens, but I don't want to, we're not going to do it. So we're just...
and why was that? Like, why were you at that point? Why were you just because your reluctance was based on what?
Inexperience, not knowing anything about. I mean, it would not have ever occurred to me to do that. We were hearing it a lot from people, and so the fact that so many people from the outside were saying, "You really have to run. You really have to run," and I was saying, "I don't know. I don't know that we're ready for this." It's quite a bit, and ego and arrogance is not Bernie's go-to place. I mean, his thing is service.
Okay, so you decided, let's float it, but we're not going to do this.
We agreed to float it, and then we were shocked as how much more the things that Bernie was talking about in terms of the issues were being covered, because he might be a presidential candidate. And time went on, and I kept on saying, let's be clear here, we're just thinking. And we're getting the issues. We're more successful than we had ever thought. I mean, if you look at the media over the time, it was clear the issues were being talked about. Then it became, our brain trust kept on saying, well, what about it? And I just kept on saying, well, no, can't you do it some other way? What about finding a nonprofit organization and really do it? Oh, and he said, have you heard of Move On? Have you heard of DFA? They're doing it, you know. And they just kept on telling me, everybody, that there's no way we can affect the change we want to affect without running for president. Yeah. And so eventually we talked about it quite a bit, and I was reticent, but I think you probably know the story of the veteran in Denny's. You know.
Go ahead, tell us that.
We were at the point where we had to make a decision. We said, okay, we're going to make a decision this weekend. We went out to breakfast at Denny's, and person after person.
What town was this for you?
Burlington.
In Burlington. Okay,
yeah. And person after person kept on coming up and saying, oh, Bernie, we think you should run. If you're thinking about it, because everybody knew we were thinking about it. Right, yeah. You know, we really would be there and supporting. And these are all working class people in Denny's, just walking up to the table. It was all very nice. We kept on talking, and we were at the point where he was saying, I said to him, if you decide to do it, if you really want to do it, you know I'll be 100% behind you. It's not something that I'm excited about, but if you feel that's the right thing to do, you know I'll be 100% behind you. And he says, but I don't want to do it unless you're 100% there. And over walks a veteran, and he says, I don't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to tell you how much I support you, and I want to thank you. You got me my benefits after 30 years, Vietnam, Agent Orange, and I will do anything that I can if you run for president because we need you. So I got up, I gave the guy a hug, tears in my eyes. I sat down. He left away. Bernie got up and shook his hand. Yeah. Sat down. I just said, I give up. You have to do it, I guess. So, and that was it. That was, and then it was go for it.
Right. And literally you said, I give up.
Yeah, I was like,
the last
I know
resistance.
That was the word, but
right.
it was
right.
more, it was because of where he was coming from. It's not, I want to be president.
Right.
It's, I want to make a difference in this world. I want to help the working class. I want to help the veterans. The issues that, he's always talking about. He feels them so strongly. I do too. Right. I'm so proud of him because of all that. And I kept on thinking, there's another way to do that, to address those issues. And I admit now, I was wrong.
Right.
The only way to do it, to really get the attention on the issues and change the conversation, and then hopefully implement the changes, is to run and become president.
Our thanks once again to Jane Sanders. Remember, watch The Circus on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. on Showtime. Coming up.